Good Wednesday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good day. Browns bye week, not much going on. Earlier today, though, Andrew Berry did meet with the media. He talked about what went into that decision for Deshaun Watson not to go against the Baltimore Ravens Sunday.
You know, we were optimistic, that he would play. He was optimistic that he would play. He worked his tail off during the week to rehab and be ready to go. When we got out on Sunday and when we took him through the pregame workout, it became obvious to all of us that he couldn't throw or drive the ball, well enough to perform in the game. Like, it just wasn't at a level where, we felt comfortable that he could ultimately perform the duties of his position. If he was a running back or a defensive tackle or something along those lines, it's something it wouldn't have necessarily affected his job requirements, and he would have been okay. But this is your quarterback, and his job is to throw the ball anywhere from 30 to 35 times a game. And if he can't push it, if he can't drive it, if he can't throw it down the field, which became very evident early in the workout, it became a very easy decision for us not to put him out there.
And again, Deshaun Watson also saying that he couldn't go. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, about Deshaun Watson deciding he couldn't play against the Ravens.
Too many players are too stubborn when it comes to that. They think they can go do it, and it hurts the team. Remember a couple of years ago, Baker Mayfield, he had that entitlement mentality that even though he had no business playing, this is my job. I'll make the decision whether or not I'm going to play. I'm going to play. This is my job. I'm not coming off the field. Brett Favre was that way. Didn't want to have happen to him what he did to Don Mikowski in 1992. I'm never coming off the field. I'm never giving anyone an opportunity to do the job better than me. So I go out there and I do the job maybe not as well as I could or as well as the backup could because I'm impaired. So I credit Deshaun Watson for having the self-awareness. The caveat is this. When you say Friday, I'm playing.
Yeah,
when your
that's
teammates
right.
believe you're playing.
Yeah.
When even though the backup, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, got the reps that Deshaun Watson didn't take in practice because he was limited all week, you're still not fully prepared if you don't believe you're playing. If the starter is saying, I'm playing, I'm playing, I'm playing, then you get to Sunday morning and it's like, I don't think I can play. That's a curveball that comes in a little too late for the backup to be ready. And I'm not saying it was intentional.
Let's welcome in Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. And Jeff, I tend to agree. I've heard and gotten emails and stuff from fans about Baker playing, and that didn't work out well. Baker's been with how many teams since he tried to do that? So I have no issue whatsoever with Watson deciding he wasn't good enough to go.
Well, the thing that's weird here, and I know we've talked about this a bunch, over the years in our talks, Dave, is usually if you don't practice on Friday for the Cleveland Browns, you don't play. It's usually the way it works. I mean, obviously you're going to make an exception for maybe a couple of players on that roster, one of them currently on IR, but Myles Garrett would probably get that exemption. Deshaun Watson would probably get that exemption. We also don't know, just because he said I'm playing, and obviously, he told Mary Kay Cabot, his intentions were that he thought he was going to be able to play. We don't know what the conversations were behind closed doors. Obviously, the Browns are not giving us all the information on this because we're hearing different sides of it from different people. Different people who are high up within that organization. Do I honestly believe that, when they got out there Sunday morning, Deshaun said, I can't go. Were they expecting it? I don't think they were expecting it. And I think you could tell from the effort. I think you can tell from, that way the offense went out there and performed. Would you have liked to dial back the offense a little bit for, DTR in his first start? Yes, you would have. But you're not going to beat the Baltimore Ravens. They're not going to beat the Baltimore Ravens defense by playing checkers. Vanilla is not going to beat the Baltimore Ravens. And that's what many fans were, why didn't you simplify it? Why didn't you run? The fact is, this team's just not running the football very well right now. And I don't think you can point the fingers necessarily at the running backs because you have to point it just as much as the offensive linemen who are not doing their best in run blocking right now. Obviously, it was difficult. Obviously, it was a really bad situation. And, in the defense, we got for the first time, we saw a couple of flaws within that unit. They're not perfect. No unit on any team is perfect. The Baltimore Ravens obviously had the Browns defense's number on Sunday. So just tough all around. But, look, if you had said, even if you had told us all on Tuesday or Wednesday, look, Deshaun Watson's going to be out this week, I don't think it would have mattered. There was no game plan that was going to have, a significant difference. Maybe they don't lose 28-3. Maybe they lose 28-10. But either way, once you didn't have Deshaun against Baltimore Ravens, you had to think most likely this team is not going to win the football game.
So the question that's been circulating is the trade of Josh Dobbs. Andrew Berry addressed that this morning as well.
In terms of trading Josh, obviously we had a high opinion of Josh. He's been here. He had been here for 2 seasons. I've often talked up here about the general manager's role having a foot in the present and a foot in the future, and certainly that consideration in that transaction has elements of that. Thought it was the best decision. We're really excited to work with Dorian and see him progress and develop. But thought it was the right move. Thought it was the right move for the organization, both short and long term.
And the only thing that I would say is it doesn't match with what you did with defensive line and, Shelby Harris you brought in Rodney McLeod, you brought in Marquise Goodwin. And I get it, quarterback's a different position, but when you bring in all those veterans and you're relying on a rookie 5th-round pick, it just doesn't seem to match the philosophy.
Well, but here's the thing, though, Dave. Who looked better all summer long? Dorian Thompson-Robinson looked better all summer long over Josh Dobbs. Who had more experience physically playing football over the last 5 years? Dorian Thompson-Robinson had an elite, lengthy career as a starting quarterback at UCLA. Josh Dobbs was out of the league at times. The Browns obviously brought him in. He never took it down for them last year. He played a little bit for Tennessee. It was okay, I guess. The Browns also replaced Josh Dobbs with P.J. Walker, who has 15 career NFL starts under his belt, which is a lot more than Josh Dobbs. That's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking right there by fans. Why did you trade? First things first, no team expects to be a successful football team if they've got to go away from their number one quarterback. Maybe if you have a rookie and a veteran battling out, you don't know who your number one is currently. But if you know who your number one is currently, you're not going to win a lot of football games when that guy is out. You got something for Josh Dobbs, and I think, the Browns deserve credit for that because, Josh Dobbs didn't, nobody else was running after Josh Dobbs last year when he played for Tennessee, did a couple things, ended up playing in a playoff game. Nobody else went chasing after Josh Dobbs. The Browns were able to bring him back due to the relationship, obviously, with the same quarterback coach, the relationship he had already had with Deshaun Watson. And, I was one over the summer that said, look, if it's going to come down to somebody taking reps, I'd rather see what you got in Dorian Thompson-Robinson, because we're not sure what Josh Dobbs is. Is he holding his own right now for the Arizona Cardinals? Yeah. Is he maybe, screwing up some plans for them for a team that probably wants to go winless this season? Probably as well. But, that's just going way, way too much. And I'm going to tell you right now, it could have been, Josh Dobbs. It could have been any backup quarterback the Cleveland Browns have had over the years. Nobody was making up the fact that, 25 points. The Browns lost 28-3. Josh Dobbs was not going to make the difference in that game.
So this one from the Action Network, NFL luck rankings. Luck percentage is win probability swung between a team's expected winning percentage from their on-field performance, actual winning percentage. And what this is showing you is the Browns have had some awful luck early in the season. They are minus 31.82%, worse than the league. Through 4 weeks, Browns' stellar defense has given them the lowest defensive expected score against. They've all actually allowed the 12th fewest points thanks to several bad breaks. A couple of pick sixes and defensive turnovers allowed will do that to you. But what that's telling you is it would not be out of the realm for the Browns to be 3-1 based on the way they've played.
Yeah, and as much as everybody's up in arms about this Baltimore loss, and again, look, I get it. It was frustrating. But they pretty much got their butts handed to them that day. The frustrating loss is still going to be Pittsburgh, because even with all the shortcomings on the offensive side of the ball, the injury to Nick Chubb, as long as you don't give up the 2 turnovers, the Browns probably win that game by a touchdown. That's the one that's going to stick with you. Baltimore has always been a really difficult matchup for this team. And the Browns through 4 weeks now have played, teams that play the odd frontier. And we know the Browns have their issues against teams that play the odd front with the stand-up edges. It's not a good matchup for DeJuan Jones. It's not really a good matchup for Jedrick Wills, as we've all seen. You're going to get another chance at this team. You're going to get another opportunity at this team. Granted, they'll be a little bit more full strength by the time you get to there, but the Browns will also have Deshaun Watson when that game comes around. I think the biggest problem right now for everybody and kind of stewing on this is normally during, any week, you shift and now we start looking to next Sunday. With the fact that the Cleveland Browns are not playing until a week from Sunday, it's really, really difficult for fans and obviously media members and everyone involved to shift off of this Baltimore loss because, the next game is so far away still.
So you mentioned the bye week. Andrew Berry, again, earlier today, talked about the biggest changes that the Browns need coming out of the bye week.
Number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 would be ball security. I'm sorry. Number 1 through 5 would be ball security. Like, that is the number one thing that we have to correct, the primary focus. Again, we 10 turnovers in 4 games. We put 5 more balls on the ground that weren't recovered by the opponent. That alone, and that doesn't mean that we're perfect in every area, no different than any team at this point in the season. But that alone, minimizing that or getting that back to an acceptable standard will make a huge difference.
And here's a look at it graphically, Jeff. Browns are -7 in turnover differential, and they're 2-2. They're hanging out with a lot of teams that are 0-4 and 1-3. And the Chiefs, though, but they're -3. But that's not the end of that turnover margin you want to be at if you're going to be in the playoffs. That's, if you think about it, -7 through 4 games, and you found a way to win 2 of those 4, you're doing something right.
Look, it's, the most important thing, and this goes back to any era of football, is, hold on to the football. Granted, some of these are maybe, weighted a little different. Obviously, the last interception that DTR threw on Sunday, that one necessarily doesn't matter. But, you get to the ball security. There's also a couple of other things that, may not be ball security, but it's the Elijah Moore losing 20 yards. On the jet sweep on Sunday. Yeah, the play was blown up. It should have been a 4-yard loss. But why in the world are you ever going backwards? It's just not smart football. The week before, obviously, Deshaun Watson going down and essentially throwing a glorified, lateral to Elijah Moore. Granted, both of those plays still were on drives that the Browns still got points. But it's just a sense of, like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Like, that's football A, B, and C. You learn that, as a kid on a dirt field, in 6th, 7th grade. Not to do things like that. You can't be careless. You can't be reckless with the football. You just absolutely have to tighten it up. You have to be smarter. And it's coming from, some of this. I mean, you keep in mind, DTR with 3 turnovers on Sunday. He's not going to be your quarterback going down the road. But you can go back to the Pittsburgh game where they had a bunch of turnovers by a bunch of guys who will play meaningful minutes for this team last year. Look, the defense is good enough. The offense has to be just good enough. And by just good enough, on the drives where there's points to be had, get them. If the drive is not meant to be, make sure Paraquez is coming in, blasting away a 50-yard punt, and you're making somebody go 75, 80 yards against you. But even still, though, the first interception Sunday against the Ravens, Stevens was down for almost 2 seconds. Where was the herd of Browns players to come tap this guy? Instead, he gets up, returns at 52 yards, gets the Ravens first and goal from the 10. He gets put down there. Not a lot of teams are going 60-plus yards on this Cleveland Browns defense. That would have made a world of difference. And that turned out to be the first score of the game, changed a little bit of the momentum of the game, obviously. This team, there's some simple things they're just not doing right now, and they really, really got to tighten these things up.
Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Now I'm going to step aside, take a quick time out. We head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
I really don't understand why everybody is mad at Kevin Stefanski for pulling Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is human, so he's going to be hurt, and he knew that it was going to be a very, very physical game, and he didn't want Deshaun Watson to get hurt any more than he already was. And even though the doctors cleared him, I know Deshaun was confident, but I know Kevin didn't feel comfortable because he had that same thing happen with Baker Mayfield. And Kevin's not going to chance him getting hurt or practically costing him his job. In my opinion, I would have said Deshaun Watson too. So all commenters about how Kevin Stefanski sat him down, you guys do not know what he was thinking because we've been through this before, and Kevin was not trying to go through that again.
Jeff, the other thing is Kevin Stefanski has listened to his players. You know, Mayfield said he wanted to play, let him play. Watson said he couldn't play. He didn't play him.
Well, you know, and there is this thought process as well. Is Deshaun Watson went out there, and let's say he was 65, 70%. Deshaun Watson was coming off his first major successful day as the Cleveland Browns quarterback in week 3, obviously against the Tennessee Titans. If he had went out there and against his Ravens defense, which was going to be a tough battle anyway you slice it. If he had gone out there and not played well for the 1 week that Deshaun Watson was maybe finally getting some breathing room as far as, you know, the negative people and the people who are hoping things don't work out for him. And we know there's people out there, and obviously with, you know, Watson's off-field stuff, you know, there's people who maybe have an agenda and are hopefully looking for him to maybe not succeed. That would have been the storyline all over again. So what? Maybe the Browns would have lost, 28-11, 28-16. And Deshaun Watson maybe would have thrown for a low completion percentage, would have thrown for low yardage, maybe would have had a turnover or two. And it would have been right back into it. Should he, you know, is that stuff that shouldn't affect him? Yeah. Am I going to say that went into the decision of him saying I can't go? No, I don't know. But there is certainly that thought process there. Look, if he wasn't able to go, and, you know, just like maybe Joe Burrow shouldn't have gone against the Cleveland Browns because it only made things worse, just like Joe Burrow shouldn't have maybe gone against the Baltimore Ravens because it only made things worse. You know, if somebody says it can't go, I mean, what are you supposed to do? You're not going to challenge a guy's manhood. You're not going to call him out in the media. You're not going to call him out in front of his teammates. But there's, you know, you have fans and you have a fan base and say you make $230 million, bro. I don't care if you got to go out there in a wooden leg. You know, you can't please everybody. But I honestly believe, you know, with Josh, with any quarterback you want to say, the way the Browns overall played on Sunday, I don't think it would have mattered who the quarterback was. It could have been Bernie Kosar. It could have been Patrick Mahomes. I just don't think that team was good enough on Sunday to anyway erase a 25-point deficit. The Ravens were cooking on offense. The Ravens seemed to have the number, and they were shutting down the running game. It just was one of those days.
So this is the offensive linemen who are responsible for the highest percentage of pressure on their quarterback. Seattle, Jake Curran, 38%. Zavala, almost 38%. And then in third place, Jedrick Wills, 37, almost 37%. And we've talked about Wills quite a bit. And Jeff, he's just struggled.
Look, anybody who knows my show, anybody who knows the times I've been with you guys, I don't get what the allure is. Do the Browns have anybody better on their roster right now? No, they probably don't. It's just not. It's not to the point where it's getting even better. It's getting worse. I mean, and the thing is, those two guys who are on top of them, those guys weren't drafted in the first round. Those guys weren't certainly drafted 10th overall. He's already given up, I think, he's at a higher pressure rate for the entire season than he's been through any of his years before. I had no idea what Cleveland was thinking as far as picking up his fifth-year option. Look, left tackle, there's not a lot of great ones in the NFL right now. But, you know, for a team that seems so, you know, analytic-driven, for a team that now committed to what's going to be, $15 million to Jed Wills, and we'll see if he's even here next year or how, you know, obviously he's going to get his money regardless. We'll see if he's even in Cleveland. But you're telling me you couldn't say for $3 million, $4 million, you could find somebody that could give the same measure of play that you're getting from Jedrick Wills? It's just not going well. And it's not been going well. You still see the same signs of, you know, when he has, you know, when he gets beat or, you know, he misses a block he should have made, he goes right back into that pause mode where everybody else is still running at full speed and Jed Wills is kind of figuring how it went wrong for him. they're just in a really, really bad spot at the left tackle position. I don't know what you're going to do about it. Could you resolve it by, putting your, second round pick, in the 2024 draft on it? Look, and the other thing is there's just time where you got to cut bait. And, maybe Jed Wills finds it somewhere else. Maybe he goes somewhere else and plays right tackle for them. The Browns are kind of committed to it this year because obviously, with Conklin going down as early as he did, you never really got a chance to experiment whether or not you wanted to play DeJuan Jones at left tackle. He is now obviously committed to the right tackle spot. But this has been something, 3+ years into it. It's not a situation that's it's getting better. It's a situation it's just not going to work. I don't expect all of a sudden the light bulb's going to go on in week 5 or week 6 or week 7. It's just a situation where he's not going to succeed here.
So Andrew Berry was asked about his tackles, DeJuan Jones and Jedrick Wills.
Yeah, I think Jeb would be the first to tell you that, he hasn't played as consistently as he knows he's capable of playing. He's capable of playing better. He will play better. He's obviously going to be an important piece for us, moving forward. And DeJuan's done a nice job coming in some really challenging circumstances. First half of his, the first game in his rookie year, he hasn't had a chance to catch his breath, right? He's played some really good pass rushers, and he's done well. And I'm actually glad you asked about DeJuan because I actually want to touch on this. DeJuan has taken advantage of every resource that we've had, within the organization. And I think particularly for that young man, the way he came into the organization with a lot of what I would say like anonymous, criticism, kind of attacking, his work ethic, his character, things like that. He really has been fantastic. He's done a really, really nice job for us, and he should be commended for coming in and being prepared when his number was called much earlier than any of us anticipated.
So we've already talked about Jedrick Wills. Jones, he's shown kind of the higher end of what you thought he might be.
Well, I mean, the old phrase of, maybe a backhanded compliment. Well, this sounded like it was maybe backhanded towards number 71 in Jedrick Wills, because it sounds like DeJuan Jones, knowing you have a guy who probably has a Hall of Fame resume as working with offensive lineman at Bill Callahan. What also it tells me is DeJuan Jones is doing everything he can in the facility as far as film work, as far as everything else. And again, it was never supposed to be this way for the 4th-round pick, DeJuan Jones. The Browns committed that money to Jack Conklin. Every intention was that Jack Conklin was going to be the right tackle for this team. We saw DeJuan Jones all summer, and everybody's like, wow, that really promising, really, really good-looking young guy, this, that, and the other thing. But, once that calendar turned to September and we were talking regular season games, the question was, hey, it's going to be curious. When's the next time we're actually going to see DeJuan Jones? He got the opportunity, and, he basically shut the door. I mean, I don't see Jack Conklin being a part of this team next year. They can save some significant money by making the shift to DeJuan Jones. You're going to have to work with him as far as, getting him a little bit better in the run game. Some of that is due to his size, obviously. You're going to have to find a way for him to get lower. I'm sure the Browns would love if they could get a little weight off DeJuan Jones. But he's doing everything they asked for. And to keep in mind, what they asked him to do was with every intention of him never taking snaps this year. And he's still gone the extra mile. So that's a pleasant surprise. And the Browns would really, really be in a difficult situation if he hasn't been as good as he is on the right-hand side because of what they're getting at on the left tackle. It's, you praise one, but it just shows, how much difficulty and how upset you should probably be that, the guy who was your former 10th overall pick, and there's just no improvement to date. There's just not. And, GM's got to say positive things. Obviously, coaches got to say positive things. And, we love Andrew Berry for it, but, behind closed doors, they got to be saying, my God, I just don't know what exactly is going on over there because he's got all the resources to get better. And you saw a 4th-round pick use all these resources to get better. And for 71, he's been around all these people his entire career here in Cleveland, and there's just no improvement.
How do you think they tweak the offense coming out of the bye? What do you expect to see? What do you hope to see?
Well, and this is, and obviously, Dave, we talked about this, going into this season, obviously when Nick was still going to be here. This was going to be a team that was evolving more to throwing the football. This is what you made the move for Deshaun Watson for. This is why you went out and brought in Elijah Moore. This is why you drafted a Cedric Tillman. This is why you brought in a Marquise Goodwin. You wanted to be able to throw the ball more. And look, everybody's so upset about Sunday. What about the week before when Deshaun went 27 to 33 for 300 yards? It's like all of a sudden that's gone. And I don't know where it's coming from because he hasn't played it down since then. But all of a sudden, everybody, it's like the water boy, Rob Schneider in the crowd. Oh, no, we suck again. What? No, Deshaun Watson didn't play against the Ravens. If he was hurt and he couldn't play, that's one story. If that's why you're aggravated, that's fine. But the last version we saw of Deshaun Watson was the best version we've seen since he's been here with Cleveland. Look, San Francisco is going to be tough. There's no way around it. This is a game we've talked about a lot during the offseason. This is the one, the San Francisco 49ers, if they find one weakness, they will expose the living daylights out of you. Offensively, defensively, they're just a humming franchise. But you're going to throw the ball more. You're going to throw it to Amari Cooper more. You're going to throw it to Donovan Peoples-Jones more. You're going to throw it to Elijah Moore more. The thing with Elijah Moore, the gimmick ideas are fantastic. But until he's out there contributing 5-6 catches a week, 70, 80 yards as a receiver, you don't get the full experience of using him in other ways until people are scared of him as a receiver. And he has all the capabilities to do that. But I think the Browns right now are trying to use him sort of as an offset to a lot of the explosiveness they lost in the running game without Nick Chubb. You can't just line him back. It's got to be where it's the full package. And to just basically say, oh, we're going to do him with some traditional running back things, that's not going to work. It's not going to fool people. Yes, Elijah's quick, but he's still only 170 pounds. Anybody gets a hand on him in the backfield, he's most likely going down. Utilize him as a wide receiver first, and then let's work on what we can do as far as special sauce afterwards.
Jeff Lloyd and I are going to take one more time out. Other side of the break, we head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Jeff Lloyd from the Locked On Browns podcast. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Let me get this straight. You're blaming Kevin Stefanski? Shut up. Just shut up. Cleveland Browns have been through so much. And look what happens when Kevin Stefanski comes in. Playoff win. So, thank you. Let's go. Let's go Browns. Thank you. Bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Jeff, if you're a play caller and you're an NFL head coach, you get a lot of the blame.
I think everybody's got this idea. Look, they were dealt a really bad hand on Sunday. And look, I'm going to continue to say it. I think they were surprised. I think maybe in the back of their minds, they said, hey, maybe Deshaun can start. Maybe we got to go to DTR. When he couldn't go at all, I think that obviously changed a lot of things. And again, look, you can't just say, oh, well, we got the rookie quarterback playing in his first. This is the Baltimore Ravens. There's other teams that are going to be on this Browns schedule that you can go vanilla. You can go simple. You weren't going to be able to pull that off against the Baltimore Ravens. Should Coach Stefanski keep a play calling? Well, when things are humming like they were against Tennessee, or when plays happen but guys drop the ball, you want to point the finger. At Coach Stefanski. How about when the interception was thrown to Stevens and the guy laid on the ground for 2 seconds and nobody went and touched him? Of course, that's obviously got to be Coach Stefanski's fault as well. It's the toughest, obviously it's the toughest gig in the NFL because, 1 week you're a hero, the next week you're a GOAT, next week after that you're a moron, and then all of a sudden you're a hero again. I think he does a great job of handling it. I love the composure on the way Kevin Stefanski does his job. Do we want to go back to, Monday afternoon pressers and, media asking questions that head coaches weren't ready for and say, oh, well, we got to watch the tape. What do you mean you're watching the tape of last week, man? We're already on it next week. It's Monday, for God's sakes. If your issue is with Coach Stefanski, I just don't get it because he does his gig. He does it well. There's no more nonsense. He speaks to the media. He does not play the game. He doesn't get innuendos, none of this stuff. Browns can do a lot worse than Coach Kevin Stefanski. Does it all got to mesh? Does it got to result in wins? Of course it does. But for one, I think this team is a lot closer to success than others do. The whole Deshaun Watson not playing on Sunday was a very, very bad situation, obviously, which led to, a tumultuous loss that nobody wanted, certainly. And now we have 2 weeks to stew upon it. I'm more than okay with Kevin Stefanski running this franchise for right now.
All right, before I let you go, this from the Bleacher Report. 3 players the Browns should target to remain in the playoff race. Number 3, Marquise Brown, wide receiver. Brown, last year of his contract, Cardinals could be willing to move on from him in exchange for a draft pick. Courtland Sutton, Browns might not be able to afford the $26 million left on Sutton's deal in 24 and 25, but they could manage to use him as a season-long rental. And then they go with a running back, Josh Jacobs. Jacobs signed a 1-year deal in the offseason, so he would be an inexpensive rental for the Browns as they chase a playoff spot. Jacobs would allow the Browns to run the same type of offense they did when Chubb was healthy. Andrew Berry addressed that, said he's always listening to the trade market. I don't necessarily think any of those is likely.
Do any of them play left tackle? If they don't play left tackle, I'm not interested. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And look, everybody on that offensive line, as far as the run blocking, DeJuan Jones obviously, has no history in the NFL. Everybody's performing below what they're supposed to be doing. It doesn't matter who the running back is. And look, we've seen games with Nick Chubb where, guess what? He didn't play well because there was nowhere to run. I mean, everybody just thinks this isn't Madden. Just adding more juice to the offense doesn't overcome the deficiencies. The offensive line is not performing to the level they need to perform right now. Courtland Sutton's not going to change that. And you think the Browns are going to go pick up 26? What are they going to do? The Broncos a favor? Hey, we'll pick up this $26 million for you because, and are we even sure Courtland Sutton's going to play over Elijah Moore? Is going to play over Donovan Peoples-Jones? Marquise Hollywood Brown, okay, he's had a nice couple stretch to begin the season here for the Arizona Cardinals. But if you look at, Hollywood Brown's resume, guess what? There's another month coming here where Hollywood Brown's not going to play because that's what has always been his career. This team is built to win. Are there some factors right now that are holding it back from winning? Absolutely. And one of the biggest ones is the offensive line. And I think everybody is making so much of this Ravens game. Look, DTR is not the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson is. He was 2-1 before Sunday. The team lost without him playing. They are now 2-2. And keep in mind, Deshaun Watson technically should be 3-0 because even as poorly as he played on Monday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns should have been 3-0 in those games. There's nothing wrong with the way the team is constructed. There is something wrong with the way the team is performing.
Jeff Lloyd, Locked On Browns podcast, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Jeff.
Anytime. Everybody get out of the house, enjoy some fresh air, and we'll worry about this a week from Sunday, guys.
All right, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate it, man. Have a good one. Jeff Lloyd, make sure you check him out, Locked On Browns podcast. We're going to step aside. We continue talking Browns. Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216 straight ahead. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America,
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns on Sports for CLE. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, Dave, Frank from Cleveland. I'm so disappointed with Stefanski. Not only did he throw Deshaun under the bus by going public, saying he was medically cleared to play, then you threw this kid under the bus big time, and then he's already making excuses to try to save his job. This guy needs to go. I mean, he has his good moments and bad moments, but there's been more bad moments, Dave. One last thing. Stefanski started to remind me of Freddie Kitchens. His ego's too big, instead of handing the play calling duties over to Van Pelt. I will continue to call the plays. Yeah, well, he's doing a half-ass job at it. I love you, brother. It's a jungle out there. You know it, I know it. Be safe. Great show as always. Bye.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. Let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon, Dog Pound Daily Network 216. Casey, I don't know that he threw Deshaun Watson under the bus. That seems to be a prevailing thing. I think he just was saying, Deshaun basically said he couldn't go. I think is the tone, and people are saying, that he's questioning him.
Am I surprised in the manner of which he answered? Yes. But I don't think he would have divulged that information on his own. He was asked an excellent question by Tony Grossi. There was no nuance. There was no wiggle room. There was no do you think or do you feel. It was he medically cleared to play? The answer is yes. Now, you could go deeper. Do they need to change protocol? Because it seems this is a common theme where the players kind of dictate whether they play or not. And you could argue whether the message should have been, as a team, we thought it was best. But he answered a question that was asked, And I just think we're to the point now where Stefanski can't win. For 99% of his tenure, it's been he doesn't give us anything in his pressers. He's not transparent enough. And then he goes and tells you this, and people are like, well, he should have lied. Well, which is it, And for the final part of that question, this dude reminds me nothing of Freddie Kitchens. Aside from holding a play sheet in front of his face, you couldn't find a more opposite human being than Freddie Kitchens. I think people are misremembering the Freddie Kitchens experience, and as a fan base, maybe we deserve that.
So Chris Sims, who played quarterback in the NFL, talked about Deshaun Watson's decision not to go in Week 4 against the Ravens. This from Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports.
He got beat to crap a lot of years in Houston. I mean, with no pass protection, and you used to hear me say all the time, right? I mean, hey, every game, every play is like the last play of the Super Bowl. I mean, he puts himself in harm's way, unlike any other quarterback in the game there for a while. He is the guy that, had like the punctured lung or whatever else, and he drove in a car from Houston to Jacksonville to play in a football game, right? Yep. So I'm not going to question Deshaun Watson in this department. I'm not. Now, he gave a little false hope, but I also, putting myself in Deshaun Watson's shoes, I bet you as the week was going, he thought he was going to be able to play. You get to, okay, whoa, I'm hurt on a Monday. Oh, Tuesday it feels a little bit better. Oh, Wednesday I'm feeling pretty good. It's feeling a little bit better. Thursday, all right, yeah, I think I'm going to be able to play. But then at times with injuries like this, you kind of like plateau off. And then that's where I'm not going to question it. I think he's a guy that wants to play and wants to be great. So that's where I look at it, and I go, then hey, you get to a Saturday, and you go, oh, wait, damn, it didn't really get much better than this, overnight, this night. And then Sunday, oh, man, it's kind of the same again. And then you throw a few footballs, and you start to go, yeah, I'm medically cleared. There's nothing broken. There's nothing torn. But I don't have the same control or power in my arm.
And again, that's... if a guy says he can't play, you don't put him out there.
Yeah, if he's telling you he can't go, it's probably best to listen. And I've seen various takes on this. One that, he should have got a shot. I don't think you want your quarterback getting a shot at his shoulder. If you think he's going to be able to be accurate if he can't feel his own arm, I got news for you. That's going to go terrible, And it's well documented that he's played through ridiculous injuries in the past. So I just think that I'm worried that there is something else going on, because we kind of heard a little doublespeak. We heard there was nothing structural. We also heard it wasn't a pain tolerance thing. Well, what is it then? There's something in the middle. And then we heard from Evan Washburn during the TV copy that an MRI showed there was fluid in the shoulder, which is swelling. So I just hope that there's nothing else going on, and proper rest should get this guy back on track, because that's what needs to happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the most concerning thing to me is we still have no idea what it is. A bruise that, we have no idea what truly is wrong with his throwing shoulder. The other thing that's kind of come out, there's no Nick Chubb. So Andrew Berry was asked about a potential Jonathan Taylor trade.
Because of the tampering rules, I know I can't, touch on specific players. You guys have heard me say it before. We're always active seekers, participants in the trade market. But I would say we're pleased with the running back room. We think what Jerome provides us. He provides us, big playability. We've seen that over the first month of the season. His speed and strength is a real asset, and then also he's a real contributor in the passing game. We saw that against Tennessee. We've seen that in the screen and check down game, but we think Jerome's ability to actually split out and run routes, that's something that's pretty typical or pretty hard to find. And then with Kareem, we do look at getting him ramped up, more heavily. Obviously him coming in, without camp, without a spring with us, there is a little bit of a ramp up period for him. But we really do look at that position as more of a platoon position, Scott, as opposed to, hey, this is your one, this is your two, that type of thing. It's probably a little bit more role based. And in fairness, again, we've been spoiled by having Nick, but that's probably more where this position, is trending with us, and has certainly trended around the league.
And again, the most interesting part of that is the back end of that, where they view it as matchup dependent, basically.
Yeah, I know it sounds like the sexy name. He could be available, but you don't want to chase replacing Nick Chubb. It's not going to happen. That should be off the table. And whoever does get Jonathan Taylor, you're basically renting him for the remainder of the season unless you sign him to an extension. And I don't think the Browns are going to double up and sign another running back to a big extension. So I think it's just kind of pie in the sky. And I don't care, even if you had Taylor, the way this line's blocking, what's that really going to do for you? You're just going to be kind of stuck in the same place just with extra players. So I think they like what they have in the running back room, and it's kind of hard to properly evaluate it when this line's blocking the way they are in the run game.
So this is also kind of interesting relative to Jerome Ford. So he had the 69-yard carry. He's averaging 2.38 yards per carry. And you see the 20, all but 20 of them have been off tackle. So the question, and they speculated downhill runner. The question I have for you, Casey, is how do you tweak the running game? What do you do more of? What do you do less of? How do you make this so that it is effective?
Starts up front. This is the most expensive offensive line in pro football, and they are not performing up to standards. And it's not one player, and everybody, the focus is going to go towards one certain player. But if you watch the games, man, Teller's not performing. Pochich isn't performing in the run game. DeJuan Jones isn't a good run blocker yet. There's a lot of room that they need to improve, and that needs to be the emphasis over the bye week, is getting this offensive line back on track. They got Bill Callahan overseeing this, and they need to tighten up some stuff. Now, I don't ever expect Jerome Ford to average 5.2 yards a carry like Nick Chubb. But if he could get 3.6 to 4.1, that keeps you up with the sticks, and then you're on schedule, which is where this team needs to be to stay out of predictable downs and situations. So basically we just need the running backs to get what's there. Right now, there's nothing there. So that's why you see 2.8 a carry, because there is nothing to be gained by running the football behind this line currently.
Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. On the other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Continue to talk a little bit about that offensive line and the defense as well. Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dawg Pound Daily and Network 216. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yes, this is Charles Boykin calling from Dayton, Ohio. I just want to say to the fans, settle down. Deshaun Watson, even though he was okay to play, he had fluid on his rotator cuff, and if he get hit against Baltimore and the way that line was blocking, I know he knew what was going on. Look, we don't want to have another incident like Baker Mayfield where he tried to play with that bum shoulder that he had. So please, settle down, fans. The Browns are going to be okay. We're still 2-2. We're only one game from being in first place in our division. Just settle down. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Casey, that's something we haven't even talked about. He mentioned, rotator cuff. Those are two words I don't want to hear relative to Deshaun Watson's shoulder, throwing shoulder.
No, it's the last thing we want to hear is a rotator cuff injury to a quarterback. But I think that brings up a wider point. Like, the players have to view every game as a game in itself. Everybody talks about the season being a marathon. It's not. It's 17 individual sprints, and they just got smoked in the fourth sprint. They stumbled out of the blocks. But they have to be able to compartmentalize and go to this fifth game. But for us as fans, when things go wrong, it's linked to our scar tissue from the past. So we start to revert and we start thinking about 2021 and what it meant to have a quarterback with a shoulder injury. And, I think that they can't look at it the same way we do. That just opens up old wounds for us. And not everything is a referendum, They just have to be able to put that game behind them, burn the tape, move on to the next one and put their best foot forward. And if Watson's able to get healthy, there's nothing lost. They're still in it. They're 2-2 with an opportunity to go 3-2 a week from Sunday. And there's a bunch of winnable games on the other side of that game. So don't freak out. Try to take a breath, use this weekend to get something else done, and we can worry about the Browns next Sunday.
Yeah, if they find a way to beat the 49ers and are 3-2, that first five was probably the toughest. It's brutal. It's probably the toughest stretch of games that they're going to have. So if you can come out of that 3-2, you should be okay. This from Warren Sharp. QB sacks allowed this year. So most is the Washington Commanders, then the Giants. And poor Daniel Jones, man, if you watch that game Monday night, they were beating him back to his where he was setting up. But the Browns are fourth. They're tied for fourth with 16 sacks allowed. That shows you kind of what we've alluded to, just how much this offensive line has struggled.
Can't have it. Can't win with it. That is not an option, especially as a team who's trying to lean more into being a pass-heavy oriented offense to have those kind of sack numbers. And the pressures are ridiculous. Like, they've given up 42 pressures as an offensive line, 46 total, but 42 of those are on the offensive line, and 19 of those are credited to Jedrick Wills. They have to figure it out. I mean, at point blank, someone's going to get hurt, period. We're going to have more incidents of a quarterback having to sit out. You cannot be allowing that kind of pressure. This is the highest paid offensive line in the NFL. This is unacceptable. And whether they got to change schemes, whether they have to move pocket, whatever they got to do, man, they got to figure it out quick, because with San Fran coming in a week from Sunday, those guys are going to be ready to hunt.
Yep, there's a Bosa that's kind of lurking. So switch sides of the ball. Browns defense. Average yards per play. Take a look at this. This is from PFF Browns. So in 2022 last year, 6.0 through 4 weeks, 25th in the NFL. This year, 3.7. First in the NFL. And you see Myles Garrett kind of smiling about that in the picture of the tweet. But that graphically shows you, or numbers-wise shows you just how drastic the change has been on the defensive side of the ball.
You love to see it. And that's with them not having a stellar game this past Sunday. They're still number one in the league, 3.7 per play. That's more than enough to win games. But we kind of saw this last Sunday a trend to where you can only give that kind of effort so long as you believe. So long as they believe that if they get the ball back and give it to the offense, a spark can happen. I kind of feel like after they got down more than 2 scores, they knew it was going to be one-way traffic. And you stopped seeing the attitude that they were playing with. It kind of waned. They got it back for a little bit in the third quarter, but the realization that the offense wasn't going to pick up their end of the bargain, you kind of seen them they acquiesced more than they have been. They've been dictating this whole time. So we can't have too many more performances like that, or this defense are not going to be able to keep up that intensity if they don't believe in the offense's ability to take care of their end of the bargain.
Yeah, the other thing is, as you saw, they were out on the field a whole lot more, and that's another, if the offense keeps going 3 and out, that defense that's aggressive eventually wears out. This also from Pro Football Focus. Observations for every NFL team after Week 4. Browns, after allowing just 4 of 14 catches when he's in primary coverage, Martin Emerson Jr. has the lowest allowed completion percentage of any player targeted at least 10 times. That's how good Martin Emerson Jr. is. And you know what? That's not an anomaly. That's not a freak of whatever. That's how good that guy can be in coverage.
Yeah, and I still feel like he's a secret, like that we know about. It's not going to take too many more performances like this, and the leagues won't have to take notice. I just love the fact he embodies the attitude of this defense. He plays different. He's aggressive. He's a big corner. Now that might lend itself to more PIs over time, but you take that just because of his style of play. But he's a dog, and it's not going to be long before everyone knows there's no free lunches on 23. It's a hard day's work for any receiver.
Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll hear more from Andrew Berry. Sports4CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily as well as Network 216. Andrew Berry talked about the importance of Deshaun Watson in this offense moving forward without Nick Chubb.
Probably number one, there's always pressure or spotlight on any starting quarterback across the league. We don't look at it as that Deshaun has to carry the offense. We feel like there's plenty of support. We have a good O-line. We have backs that play well in a role. Amari and David are featured pass catchers, and then obviously with Elijah, Donovan, Marquise, we have enough players to lighten the load. But obviously your quarterback's a big piece of it. And we think he's super talented, and obviously he can do a lot of things for us. But we feel like we're going to be good on offense.
And Casey, this isn't what I expected them to do with Deshaun Watson. Do you think we see more of that, more of the shotgun? You don't have Nick Chubb anymore, so you got to find a way to get short gains that are high percentage, that are rhythmic, and they've looked out of sync.
Yeah, I would argue with Andrew Berry's point on that. Without Nick Chubb, Deshaun Watson has to be the engine that drives his team, regardless of the supporting cast. He's going to have to do this with his arm. And I am with you. We need to see more shotgun, more pistol. We need to get him playing to his strengths, which is, in his past has been in the shotgun, so we can survey. That's how he's used to processing the field. Putting him under center, when you got Jerome Ford or Kareem Hunt or Strong or any, it's not Nick Chubb back there. There's not enough need to go under center like that anymore. You need to start playing to Deshaun's strengths, and you need those easy 3-4 yard completions. Boy, DTR needed them on Sunday. I know that, but Deshaun even needs those. That's how you stay up with the sticks. That's how you create an extension of your run game, so you're not constantly relying on hand the ball off every first down. So yeah, they need to figure it out. They need to figure out a way to become efficient, especially early and down, so they don't get stuck in these third and long and predictable situations where bad things can happen.
The other thing, you spread it out so that you're not running. Right now, you're not making it easy for your platoon backs to run the football. If you start spreading it out and throwing some quick passes, they're going to have to take people out of the box.
Yeah, you got to give them a reason to do that. Until they do, why wouldn't you stack the box against this team? I mean, I know I would, because right now they're still playing that phone booth football. They need to start hitting explosives. They need to spread the ball out. They need to become aggressive on offense and really start, taking it to teams. Right now they're just playing passive, and it feels predictable, and that's the saddest part is the predictability of it. And that's what gets you. That's the reason they've turned the ball over 10 times. They put another 5 on the ground that they've recovered, but this team hasn't won a turnover battle yet. And for this team to win, that has to happen. So they need to stop being as predictable as they have been.
All right, this from the Bleacher Report, NFL trade block, big board entering week 5. So they have Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle from the Broncos, potential landing spots, Browns and Titans. They say Jedrick Wills continues to be a glaring liability. He's been responsible for 3 penalties, 2 sacks per PFF, and has been the weak link in an otherwise stout Cleveland line. Also on this list, running back Michael Carter for the Jets, potential landing spots, Ravens and Browns. Carter could be a much more valuable running back needy team as he has starting experience, 21 games, capable receiver out of the backfield. And then we talked about this earlier on the show, Jonathan Taylor, potential landing spots, Browns, Buccaneers. Colts haven't slammed the door shut on the idea of trading the 2021 rushing champion. Browns may also want to consider Taylor given their desire to win now. Don't see Taylor happening. Even Carter I don't think is a big enough upgrade. Garrett Bowles is kind of intriguing. If it costs you, the 5th round pick you got for Joshua Dobbs or something like that.
Yes, please. However, that has to happen. I mean, I don't know if Bowles is the whole world by any means, but would he be a significant upgrade from what they have at left tackle right now? Yes. Now, that ignores the fact that you're financially tied to Wills through next season. And I was hopeful that they would get through this year and be able to piecemeal or have a contingency plan in place with some of these guys they brought to the practice squad, develop an Alex Leatherwood or something like that. But I don't think you're going to make it to the end of this season the way he's playing. I don't think your quarterback makes it to the end of this season the way he's playing. So if you can somehow maneuver and lose a late round pick or trade an asset that you view as expendable, I think if you can do that and get a starting caliber left tackle, you do that 100% of the time.
All right. Another topic Andrew Berry talked about, wide receiver Elijah Moore.
Elijah, we view him as one of the better playmakers on the roster. I know that we're excited to get him the ball in a variety of ways. I do think that there's an element where whenever you get a new skill player in a new offense, sometimes you don't want to necessarily discourage some of the tinkering, and sometimes the results will be good, sometimes the results won't be as good, and the biggest thing is adjusting and ultimately allowing your playmakers to kind of find their niche within the offense. Again, we're 4 games into this thing. We do want to get him the ball, but I think that'll evolve and grow as we go.
Casey, I don't know about you. I want to see him with the ball in his hands going north-south. You're wasting that 4.4, 4.5 speed because he's running sideline to sideline. It's like Myles Garrett with the 2 tight ends against the Titans. They're going to let him do that all game. Get him the ball where he can turn upfield quickly.
They need to take that play and put that in the trash. That it is not working. And I get the frustration because you're looking at a guy who creates separation down the field, but unfortunately for him right now, he's the one player that can get open straight off the line. So he becomes that extension of the run game because you can get him the ball quickly. And that's what we've seen. Everything he's done right now has been around the line of scrimmage. And unfortunately, I think that's going to be his usage for the foreseeable future until Watson starts to grow and starts to feel more comfortable in this offense. And then I think you can start to see him more as a downfield player because he creates separation at a high clip. Right now, it's the highest in the league. But we're not able to see that exploited because his usage right now is just going to be in the short, quick game area.
Well, then you need to find a way to get Njoku or a running back to vacate an area and run him under it. Get him in space. They're not doing a good enough job of getting him in space, even near the line of scrimmage.
No, and it's just a juxtaposition of where we were at in the training camp, where we were so excited about what his usage was going to be, and it's just been just this one note. And they got to figure out a way, because he's a weapon, And this team has a few weapons in the passing game, but he's the most explosive one, who's on the field on a full-time basis. So they got to figure out a way to, like you said, get him in the open space with the ball in his hands, heading north and south. That's the key. I get these little 3-4 yard handoffs, and that keeps you up with the sticks. But they need to figure out a way to let him be explosive, because he's getting open down the field.
Casey Kinnamon, Dog Pound Daily Network 216, as always. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Anytime, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out. Dog Pound Daily. You can also check him out on Network 216. It's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow at 4 on Sports for CLE.